In the heart of West Africa, within the landlocked nation of Burkina Faso, a profound and resonant shift is taking place. This is a land where the red earth meets the endless sky, where the rhythms of daily life are shaped by both tradition and the winds of change. For decades, Burkina Faso has stood as a crossroads of cultures, histories, and destinies, a place where the past and the future are in constant dialogue. Now, as the world watches, a new chapter is being written, one that promises to redefine not only the fate of this nation, but the very soul of a continent. A movement is stirring, one that began not with a thunderous roar, but with a determined whisper of change. In the quiet conversations of elders beneath the shade of ancient trees, in the hopeful eyes of youth gathered in city squares, and in the resolute steps of those who have long yearned for a brighter tomorrow, the seeds of transformation have been sown. This is a story that transcends the typical narratives of political upheaval or military coups that have often characterized the continent's history. It is not merely about the struggle for power or the shifting of regimes. Instead, it is about the awakening of a people, the rekindling of hope, and the forging of a new identity rooted in dignity and self-determination. It is a story about the reawakening of a collective consciousness, a renewed sense of purpose, and the rise of a figure who has come to embody the aspirations of millions. Across Burkina Faso, from the smallest hamlets to the bustling capital, there is a palpable sense that something extraordinary is unfolding. A sense that the time for change has finally arrived. In the vast, sun-drenched landscapes of the Sahel, a young soldier, previously unknown to the world, has emerged from the ranks. His journey began far from the corridors of power, in the dust and heat of the savannah, where the challenges of daily life are met with quiet resilience and unwavering resolve. His ascent was not driven by a personal quest for fame or an insatiable thirst for power. Rather, it was shaped by the hardships he witnessed, the injustices endured by his people, and the unbreakable bonds of family and community that defined Burkinabe life. Instead, it was fueled by a deep, unwavering love for his people, and a commitment to restoring their dignity and sovereignty. In every handshake, every embrace, and every word spoken in solidarity, there is a reflection of the values that have guided his path: humility, service, and an unshakable belief in the power of unity. This narrative belongs to Captain Ibrahim Traoré, a name that now echoes far beyond the borders of his homeland. Once a humble officer, he has become a symbol of hope and renewal, not only for Burkina Faso but for all of Africa. His rise has captured the imagination of millions, inspiring a new generation to believe in the possibility of genuine change. His story is not merely a political chronicle, it is a human drama unfolding on a global stage, capturing the imagination of a generation yearning for authentic leadership. In a world where cynicism often overshadows optimism, Traoré's journey stands as a testament to the enduring power of hope. We are witnessing the unfolding of a chapter that may well redefine the future trajectory of an entire continent. The echoes of this moment are being felt far beyond Burkina Faso's borders, resonating in the hearts of those who have long dreamed of an Africa that stands tall and unbowed. From the bustling, dusty streets of Ouagadougou to the remote villages where life has remained unchanged for centuries, a new energy is palpable. It is an energy born of possibility, of the belief that the future can be shaped by the hands of those who dare to dream. The rise of this young captain is being viewed by many as the catalyst that is awakening a sleeping giant. A new Africa, confident, self-reliant, and unapologetic in its pursuit of a destiny of its own making. Across the continent, young people are waving flags not just in celebration, but in declaration. The time for Africa's renaissance is now. His journey is a testament to the idea that true leadership is born from service, not ambition. In the quiet acts of kindness, in the tireless work of community leaders, and in the selfless dedication of those who put the needs of others before their own, we see the spirit that has propelled Traoré to prominence. The story of Captain Traoré is intricately woven into the very fabric of his nation's struggles and its enduring spirit of resistance. For years, the people of Burkina Faso have faced adversity with courage, protesting injustice, demanding accountability, and refusing to be silenced. Burkina Faso, the land of incorruptible people, has a rich history of striving for true independence and social justice, most famously embodied by the revolutionary leader Thomas Sankara. Sankara's vision of a self-sufficient, proud, and just society continues to inspire those who seek to build a better future. Today, the waving flag of Burkina Faso, the jubilant crowd celebrating in the streets, and the powerful images of Traoré addressing his nation are not just fleeting moments for the news cycle. They are the living, breathing embodiment of a people's determination to reclaim their destiny. They are potent symbols of a deep-seated desire for a fundamental transformation. In every chant, in every song, in every raised fist, there is a message: the old ways will no longer suffice. The people demand more justice, more opportunity, more respect. They represent a break from a past marred by external interference, internal strife, and economic dependency. The tearing down of colonial-era statues is more than a symbolic act. It is a declaration that the future will not be dictated by the ghosts of yesterday. The sight of the iconic Sankara statue serves as a constant reminder of the revolutionary ideals that continue to inspire this new movement, bridging the past with a future that is being actively forged. It is a place of pilgrimage for those who believe that the dream of a just and equitable society is still within reach. This introduction to Captain Traoré's journey is an invitation to look beyond the headlines and understand the deeper currents at play. It is a call to see the human stories behind the statistics, the hopes and fears that animate a nation in transition. It is an exploration of how one individual's courage and conviction can ignite a flame of hope across nations. In the flicker of candlelight vigils, in the quiet prayers of mothers, and in the determined steps of young activists, we see the spark that has the power to illuminate even the darkest of times. His message of African sovereignty and unity resonates powerfully in a world undergoing significant geopolitical shifts. As old alliances are tested and new partnerships are forged, the call for a united, self-reliant Africa grows ever louder. As we delve into his story, we are not just examining the biography of a single man, we are analyzing a phenomenon. We are witnessing the birth of a movement that challenges the status quo and dares to imagine a different future. We are seeking to understand why his words have found such fertile ground, not only in Burkina Faso, but across the Sahel and beyond. What is it about this moment, this leader, and this movement that has captured the hearts and minds of so many? This is the story of a new dawn, a narrative of resilience, and a powerful declaration that the future of Africa will be written by Africans for Africans. As the sun rises over the plains and the cities of Burkina Faso, it brings with it the promise of a new era, one defined not by the shadows of the past, but by the limitless possibilities of the future. The journey ahead will not be easy, and the challenges will be many. But in the hearts of the Burkinabe people, and in the vision of leaders like Captain Traoré, there burns an unquenchable flame, a belief that together they can shape a destiny worthy of their dreams. To truly comprehend the significance of Captain Ibrahim Traoré's rise, one must first journey back to his origins, to the very soil that nurtured his earliest dreams and the community that shaped his sense of self. His story is not merely one of personal ambition or political maneuvering, but rather a testament to the transformative power of humble beginnings and the enduring spirit of a people who have long struggled for dignity and justice. To understand Traoré, we must look beyond the headlines and the uniforms, and instead focus on the quiet, everyday moments that defined his early years. It is in these moments, amidst the laughter of children playing in the dust, the rhythmic pounding of millet in the courtyards, and the gentle hum of evening conversations, that the foundation of his character was laid. Born in 1988 in the small rural locality of Bondoukoui, located in the Mohun province of Burkina Faso, his early life was a world away from the corridors of power he would one day occupy. Bondoukoui, with its red earth roads and scattered acacia trees, is a place where tradition and community are woven into the very fabric of daily existence. Here, the pace of life is dictated by the seasons, and the fortunes of families rise and fall with the rains. He grew up not in privilege, but in the midst of the everyday realities faced by the vast majority of his countrymen. His family, like so many others, depended on the land for their survival, working tirelessly from dawn until dusk to coax a living from the soil. The market was not just a place of commerce, but a gathering point for stories, wisdom, and the collective hopes of the village. His childhood was a first-hand education in the pervasive challenges of poverty, the quiet indignities of injustice, and the relentless struggles of a people striving for a better life against formidable odds. Each day brought new lessons, the value of hard work, the importance of community, and the necessity of resilience in the face of adversity. Fetching water from distant wells, helping his elders in the fields, and witnessing the sacrifices made by his parents and neighbors, Traoré learned early on that survival was a collective effort. These formative experiences were not abstract concepts for him. They were the live reality of his family, his neighbors, and his community, instilling in him a profound empathy and a sense of shared destiny. Meals were often simple, but they were shared, and every mouthful was a reminder of the interconnectedness of all who called Bondakui home. The bonds forged in these moments would become the bedrock of his worldview, teaching him that leadership is not about authority, but about service. This upbringing in rural Burkina Faso became the bedrock of his convictions. The land itself, with its cycles of drought and abundance, taught him patience and perseverance. Watching farmers rise before the sun to tend their crops, he saw firsthand the dignity that comes from honest labor, and the quiet heroism of those who refuse to give up, even when the odds are stacked against them. Unlike those who are groomed for leadership in elite institutions, Traoré's education was forged in the crucible of real-world hardship. His classroom was the open air, his textbooks the stories of elders, and his lessons written in the sweat and dust of daily toil. Yet, even in these modest surroundings there was a hunger for knowledge, a belief that education, however basic, could be a ladder to a better future. He saw the potential of his land and the resilience of its people, but he also witnessed the systemic obstacles that held them back. Droughts would come, crops would fail, and yet the villagers would gather, sharing what little they had, refusing to let despair take root. These scenes left an indelible mark on Traoré, fueling a determination to one day challenge the forces that kept his people in perpetual struggle. This intimate understanding of his nation's grassroots struggles would later inform his every decision and public declaration. The wisdom of the elders, the dreams of the youth, and the collective memory of a people who had endured colonization, exploitation, and neglect, all of these became part of his internal compass. He learned that true leadership means listening, not just commanding. It means being present, not just being in charge. It is this authenticity that sets him apart. When Traoré stands before a crowd, his words resonate not because of their eloquence but because of their sincerity. He speaks the language of the people not just in words but in spirit, a spirit forged in the fires of shared hardship and collective hope. When he speaks of liberation from neo-colonial shackles or the need for economic self-sufficiency, his words carry the weight of personal experience, not political rhetoric. He knows what it means to go without, to see dreams deferred by forces beyond one's control. His passion is not manufactured for the cameras, it is the natural outpouring of a life spent in close proximity to suffering and resilience alike. He is not a detached intellectual theorizing about the plight of the masses. He is a product of those very masses, a son of the soil who has risen to champion their cause. His connection to the people is not symbolic, it is lived, felt, and reciprocated. When he walks through the villages, he is greeted not as a distant authority, but as a brother, a neighbor, a friend. His decision to pursue a military career was a pivotal one, yet it was not driven by a desire to command or to accumulate personal power. Instead, it was a response to the growing realization that the challenges facing his community could not be overcome by words alone. Action was needed, action that required discipline, courage, and a willingness to sacrifice. For Traoré, joining the armed forces was a calling, a pathway to serve a higher purpose. The military, in his eyes, was not merely an institution of force, but a potential instrument for justice and protection. He saw in its ranks the possibility of defending the vulnerable, of standing up to those who would exploit or oppress. He saw the military not as an instrument of oppression to protect an entrenched elite, but as a vehicle for safeguarding the nation's integrity and defending its people's right to freedom and truth. This vision set him apart from many of his peers who viewed the uniform as a ticket to privilege or power. This perspective was unconventional in a region where military institutions have often been co-opted for political ends. In many West African countries, the military has been both a tool of liberation and a weapon of repression. Traoré was determined to chart a different course, one rooted in service rather than self-interest. His focus was always on duty, on the fundamental responsibility of a soldier to his nation and its citizens. Whether assisting villagers during times of crisis or mentoring young recruits, he approached every task with humility and a sense of mission. This principled stance, rooted in his upbringing, guided his path through the military academy and into his career as an officer, earning him respect among his peers for his unwavering commitment. He was known not for seeking the spotlight, but for his willingness to shoulder the burdens that others avoided. Within the structured hierarchy of the military, Ibrahim Traoré quickly distinguished himself, though not through political maneuvering or self-promotion. Instead, he led by example, demonstrating that true authority is earned through integrity, not imposed by rank. His reputation was built on a foundation of discipline, undeniable courage in the face of danger, and a palpable love for his nation that was evident to all who served alongside him. In the heat of operations, when fear and uncertainty threatened to overwhelm, it was Traoré's calm resolve and steady leadership that inspired confidence. While many of his contemporaries were focused on climbing the ladder, chasing higher ranks and the prestige that came with them, Traoré was chasing something far more profound, a purpose. He understood that titles and medals were fleeting, but the impact of one's actions could echo for generations. He was dedicated to becoming an effective protector of his people, particularly as the nation grappled with the growing threat of terrorism and instability. The rise of extremist violence in Burkina Faso brought new challenges, testing the resolve of even the most seasoned soldiers. Traoré responded not with fear, but with a renewed commitment to the safety and well-being of his fellow citizens. This relentless pursuit of purpose, rather than position, is what ultimately prepared him for the extraordinary role he was destined to play in his country's history. In a world where so many leaders are shaped by privilege and insulated from the realities of those they govern, Ibrahim Traoré stands as a rare exception, a leader whose authority is rooted in lived experience, whose vision is shaped by the struggles and aspirations of his people, and whose journey from the dusty paths of Bondakui to the national stage is a testament to the power of authenticity, resilience, and hope. The very essence of Captain Ibrahim Traoré's leadership is a radical departure from the archetypes that have long dominated the political landscape, not just in Africa, but across the world. In a time when many leaders are defined by their distance from the people they serve, Traoré has chosen a path that is both bold and refreshingly authentic. His approach is not just a matter of style, but a conscious rejection of the trappings of power that have, for generations, created a gulf between rulers and the ruled. Traoré's story is not simply about a man who rose to power, it is about a leader who is redefining what it means to serve, to connect, and to inspire. In an era where leadership is often synonymous with opulence, detachment, and an unbridgeable gap between the rulers and the ruled, Traoré has consciously chosen a path of simplicity and accessibility. He is not content to rule from behind closed doors, or to be seen only in carefully orchestrated public appearances. Instead, he has made it his mission to be present, truly present, among the people of Burkina Faso. Whether he is walking through bustling markets, greeting villagers in remote communities, or shaking hands with citizens from all walks of life, Traoré's leadership is defined by his willingness to engage directly with those he serves. This is not a mere gesture, it is a fundamental shift in the way power is exercised and experienced. He has rejected the gilded cage of presidential palaces and the isolating pomp of high office. The grand halls and ornate gates that once symbolized authority now stand as reminders of a past he is determined to leave behind. For Traoré, leadership is not about being shielded from the realities of everyday life, but about embracing them fully. He understands that true authority is not derived from symbols of wealth or status, but from the trust and respect of the people. By turning away from the comforts and privileges that so often come with high office, he is making a powerful statement about the kind of leader he aspires to be. Instead, he is frequently seen walking among his people, sharing meals with ordinary citizens in local markets, and, most importantly, listening intently to their concerns and their hopes. These moments are not staged for cameras or designed to win political points. They are genuine expressions of a leader who values the voices of his people. Traoré's willingness to sit at the same table, eat the same food, and listen to the same stories as his fellow citizens is a testament to his belief in the power of community. It is in these simple acts that the true strength of his leadership is revealed. This deliberate embrace of humility is not a calculated public relations stunt. It is a genuine reflection of his character and a core tenet of his philosophy of governance, earning him the affectionate and deeply meaningful title, the People's Captain. The warmth and affection with which he is greeted by the people of Burkina Faso speak volumes about the trust he has built. In a world where cynicism about political leaders runs deep, Traoré's authenticity stands out. He has become a symbol of hope, not just because of his policies, but because of the way he carries himself, approachable, attentive, and always willing to listen. This style of leadership is revolutionary in its simplicity. It challenges the notion that power must be distant, that authority must be cloaked in ceremony and ritual. Traoré's approach is a reminder that the most profound changes often begin with the simplest acts, sitting down with a group of villagers, listening to their stories, and sharing in their daily struggles. In these moments, the barriers between leader and led dissolve, replaced by a sense of shared purpose and mutual respect. It is a quiet revolution, but one with the potential to transform not just Burkina Faso, but the very idea of leadership itself. By breaking down the physical and symbolic barriers that typically separate a head of state from the populace, Traoré is sending a powerful message that a leader is, first and foremost, a servant of the people. He is often seen disregarding strict protocols, choosing instead to immerse himself in the daily lives of his citizens. Whether it's walking hand in hand with children or standing shoulder to shoulder with market vendors, Traoré's actions speak louder than any official decree. He is redefining what it means to lead, showing that true strength lies not in separation, but in connection. His presence in the crowded streets of Ouagadougou or in remote rural communities is a visible affirmation of his commitment to a shared struggle and a collective destiny. Traoré does not shy away from the challenges facing his nation. Instead, he confronts them head-on, side by side with his people. In times of crisis, he is there, not as a distant figure issuing orders, but as a fellow citizen, sharing in the hardships and working towards solutions. This hands-on approach has earned him not only respect, but also a deep sense of loyalty from those he leads. When he eats the same food as his fellow citizens, he is not just partaking in a meal, he is partaking in their reality. These shared experiences are more than symbolic. They are a way of building bridges, of breaking down the walls that have too often divided leaders from the elite. In a country where many have felt marginalized or forgotten, these acts of solidarity are deeply meaningful. They send a clear message. No one is above the struggles of the people, and no one is alone in facing them. This act of communion fosters a level of trust and connection that no grand speech or political promise could ever achieve. It is in these moments of shared laughter, of breaking bread together, that the bonds of community are strengthened. Traoré understands that leadership is not about commanding from above, but about walking alongside, sharing in both the joys and the burdens of everyday life. This approach has created a sense of unity and purpose that is rare in today's world. It transforms the concept of leadership from a position of authority to a relationship of mutual respect and shared responsibility, a bond forged in the common ground of everyday life. Traoré's willingness to listen, to learn, and to adapt has made him not just a leader, but a partner in the journey toward a better future. This sense of partnership is at the heart of his vision for Burkina Faso, a nation where every voice matters and where progress is measured not by the wealth of the few, but by the well-being of the many. Under his interim leadership, Burkina Faso has embarked on a series of bold and decisive actions aimed at reclaiming its national sovereignty and asserting its dignity on the international stage. Traoré has not shied away from making difficult decisions, even when they have come at great personal or political cost. He has challenged entrenched interests, confronted corruption, and demanded accountability from those in positions of power. These actions have not always been popular, but they have been guided by a clear sense of purpose and a deep commitment to the nation's future. These moves have been guided by a clear vision of independence, not just politically, but also economically and security-wise. Traoré recognizes that true sovereignty cannot exist without economic self-reliance and the ability to defend the nation's interests. He has worked tirelessly to promote local industries, support small businesses, and invest in the skills and talents of the Burkinabe people. By prioritizing homegrown solutions and reducing dependence on foreign aid, he is laying the groundwork for a more resilient and self-sufficient nation. Traoré's government has challenged long-standing military and economic agreements that were perceived as undermining the nation's autonomy, seeking instead to build new alliances based on mutual respect and shared interests. He has opened the door to new partnerships, both within Africa and beyond, that are grounded in equality and reciprocity. This shift has not been without controversy, but it reflects a broader determination to chart a new course for Burkina Faso, one that is defined by self-determination and a refusal to be dictated to by external powers. He has championed local production and consumption, encouraging his people to rely on their own resources and ingenuity. Traoré believes that the path to prosperity lies not in imitation, but in innovation, drawing on the rich traditions and talents of the Burkinabe people to create solutions that are uniquely their own. From supporting local agriculture to promoting traditional crafts, he has made it a priority to invest in the nation's strengths and to celebrate its cultural heritage. These steps, while challenging, are seen as essential building blocks for a future where Burkina Faso stands strong, free from external dictation, and united in its purpose. Traoré has called on all citizens to play a role in this transformation, emphasizing that the nation's success depends on the collective efforts of its people. He has inspired a new sense of pride and ownership, encouraging Burkinabe from all walks of life to contribute their skills, their ideas, and their energy to the task of nation building. The principles of unity, dignity, and independence are not just slogans for Traoré. They are the guiding stars of his administration. He has worked tirelessly to bridge divides, to heal old wounds, and to foster a sense of common purpose among the people of Burkina Faso. In a country with a rich tapestry of cultures, languages, and traditions, this commitment to unity is both ambitious and essential. Traoré understands that the nation's strength lies in its diversity, and he has made it a priority to ensure that every group, every community, and every individual feels valued and included. He has consistently emphasized that the strength of Burkina Faso lies in the unity of its people, urging them to look past ethnic and religious divisions and to work together for the common good. Through interfaith dialogues, community gatherings, and inclusive policies, Traoré has sought to build bridges where others have built walls. He has encouraged open conversations about the challenges facing the nation, creating spaces where differences can be acknowledged and celebrated, rather than feared or suppressed. His insistence on national dignity is a direct response to decades of perceived condescension and exploitation from foreign powers. Traoré has made it clear that Burkina Faso will no longer accept a subordinate role on the world stage. He has spoken out against policies and practices that undermine the nation's sovereignty, and he has demanded respect from those who seek to engage with his country. This assertiveness has resonated deeply with the Burkinabe people, who see in Traoré a leader who is willing to stand up for their rights and their future. By standing firm in his convictions, even in the face of international pressure, he is restoring a sense of pride and self-worth to his nation. Traoré's leadership has inspired a new generation of Burkinabe to believe in themselves and in their country's potential. He has shown that it is possible to pursue progress without sacrificing principles, and that true leadership is measured not by the approval of foreign powers, but by the well-being and aspirations of one's own people. This new direction, championed by the people's captain, represents a profound shift, a declaration that Burkina Faso, and, by extension, Africa, will no longer be a passive player in a game designed by others, but the master of its own fate. Traoré's vision is one of empowerment, resilience, and hope, a vision that is being realized not through grand gestures or empty promises, but through the everyday actions of a leader who walks among his people, listens to their dreams, and works tirelessly to turn those dreams into reality. In the story of Captain Ibrahim Traoré, we find not just the promise of a new Burkina Faso, but the possibility of a new kind of leadership, one that is rooted in humility, guided by principle, and defined by an unwavering commitment to the people. The events that unfolded in Burkina Faso in 2022 did not occur in a vacuum. To truly understand the seismic shifts that took place, we must first look back at the years, even decades, of tension and hardship that set the stage for this pivotal moment. Burkina Faso, a landlocked nation in West Africa, has long been a crossroads of cultures, ideas, and, unfortunately, conflict. Its people have endured cycles of hope and disappointment, of progress and setback, all under the shadow of both internal and external pressures. The unrest that erupted in the streets was not a sudden outburst, but rather the culmination of years of simmering frustration, growing instability, and a pervasive sense that the nation was adrift. For many, it felt as if Burkina Faso's sovereignty was being steadily eroded, its people's security under constant threat from extremist violence, and its leaders unable or unwilling to respond with the urgency the crisis demanded. The frustration was palpable, visible in the faces of young and old alike, as they gathered in protest, demanding a future that seemed to slip further from their grasp with each passing year. The government in place was increasingly seen as ineffective, unable to stem the tide of attacks that had displaced millions and paralyzed entire regions of the country. Villages that once bustled with life became ghost towns, their inhabitants forced to flee in search of safety. The humanitarian crisis deepened, with families torn apart and communities left to pick up the pieces in the aftermath of violence. The sense of abandonment was overwhelming, as international aid often fell short and promises of protection rang hollow. Amidst this rising tide of discontent, as citizens cried out for decisive action and genuine change, a new voice began to cut through the noise of political uncertainty. In town squares and on social media, in hushed conversations and public forums, people began to speak of the need for a new direction, a leader who could restore hope and reclaim the nation's dignity. The air was thick with anticipation, as if the country itself was holding its breath, waiting for someone to step forward and answer the call. This voice belonged to a then-unknown 34-year-old army captain, who, along with a group of like-minded officers, felt compelled to act where their leaders had failed. These were not men seeking glory or personal gain, but soldiers who had witnessed firsthand the suffering of their people and the failures of the state. They met in secret, sharing stories of loss and frustration, and slowly, a plan began to take shape. A plan to intervene, to break the cycle of inaction, and to offer the nation a new beginning. On September 30th, 2022, Captain Ibrahim Traoré stepped onto the national stage, not as a usurper seeking power for its own sake, but as the face of a movement that aimed to rewrite Burkina Faso's history. His emergence was sudden, but the groundwork had been laid over months of careful planning and soul-searching. Traoré's message was clear: the time for half-measures was over. The nation needed bold, decisive leadership, and he was prepared to provide it. At just 34, his youth was as striking as his resolve. In a country where leadership had long been associated with age and entrenched power, Traoré's rise signaled a generational shift. He embodied the hopes of a younger population, weary of old politics and eager for change. His determination was evident in every word he spoke, every gesture he made, a leader unafraid to challenge the status quo, yet mindful of the immense responsibility he now carried. He led a second coup in less than a year, arguing that the previous military leadership had not made sufficient progress in combating the jihadist insurgency and restoring state authority. The decision was fraught with risk, but for Traoré and his supporters, the alternative, continued stagnation and decline, was simply unacceptable. The coup was swift, but not without tension. As soldiers moved through the capital, uncertainty gripped the nation. Would this be yet another false dawn, or the beginning of something truly transformative? This was the critical turning point. The world watched as Burkina Faso teetered on the edge of chaos and renewal. For many citizens, the sight of military vehicles rolling through the streets was both terrifying and exhilarating, a sign that change, for better or worse, was finally at hand. The days that followed were marked by uncertainty, as rumors swirled and the nation waited to see what kind of leader Traoré would become. It was a moment of immense risk, but also of immense potential, a decisive break from a failing status quo. The old order had been swept aside, and in its place stood a new, untested leadership. The hopes and fears of millions now rested on the shoulders of a young captain and his allies. Would they deliver on their promises, or would they too be consumed by the challenges that had undone so many before them? The move was not merely a changing of the guard, it was a fundamental reorientation of the nation's priorities, placing the security and sovereignty of the Burkina Faso people above all else. For the first time in years, there was a sense that the government was listening, that the sacrifices of ordinary citizens had not been in vain. The raising of the national flag became a symbol of renewed hope, a promise that the future would be shaped by the will of the people, not the dictates of foreign powers or entrenched elites. In his first addresses to the nation and the world, Captain Traoré articulated a vision that was both powerful and electrifying. He spoke not just of military strategy, but of unity, dignity, and self-reliance. His words resonated with a population hungry for change, and with observers across Africa and beyond who saw in him the possibility of a new kind of leadership, one rooted in the realities of the continent, yet unafraid to dream of something greater. He stood before his people and declared, with a clarity and conviction that resonated deeply, "The time has come for Africa to take charge of its destiny." This was more than a slogan, it was a call to action, a challenge to the old narratives that had long defined the continent. Traoré's message was one of empowerment, urging his fellow Africans to believe in their own capacity for greatness, to reject the limitations imposed by history and circumstance. This was not just a statement, it was a clarion call, a declaration of independence from the neo-colonial structures and mentalities that had shackled the continent for generations. Traoré's words echoed those of past revolutionaries, yet they carried a new urgency, shaped by the realities of the 21st century. He spoke of the need to break free from dependency, to chart a course that was truly African in its vision and ambition. The message was simple, yet profound. The era of dependency was over. No longer would Burkina Faso, or Africa more broadly, look to others for solutions to its problems. Instead, the focus would be on harnessing the collective strength, creativity, and resilience of its own people. This was a message that resonated far beyond the borders of Burkina Faso, inspiring communities across the continent to reimagine what was possible. The time for Africa to rely on its own strength, its own resources, and its own people had arrived. Traoré emphasized the importance of economic independence, of building industries that served African needs and aspirations. He called for investment in education, in technology, in agriculture, sectors that could transform not just Burkina Faso, but the entire continent. The vision was ambitious, but it was grounded in a deep faith in the potential of the African people. This powerful articulation of Pan-Africanist ideals, reminiscent of the revolutionary era of the 1960s, instantly captured the attention of the world. The echoes of leaders like Thomas Sankara, Kwame Nkrumah, and Patrice Lumumba could be heard in Traoré's speeches, yet his vision was uniquely his own, shaped by the challenges and opportunities of a new era. The world watched as a new chapter in African history began to unfold, one defined by hope, determination, and a refusal to accept the limitations of the past. The impact of that message was immediate and far-reaching, echoing with incredible speed beyond the borders of Burkina Faso. News outlets across Africa and around the globe reported on the events with a mixture of surprise and admiration. Analysts debated the implications, while ordinary people found inspiration in the boldness of Traoré's vision. The sense of possibility was contagious, as if a long-dormant dream had been awakened. From the neighboring nations of Mali and Niger, which were facing similar struggles against insurgency and foreign influence, to countries as far as Ghana and South Africa, a new current of thought began to flow. Leaders and citizens alike began to question the old alliances, the old dependencies, and to imagine new forms of cooperation and solidarity. The idea of a united, self-reliant Africa was no longer a distant dream, but a tangible goal within reach. Traoré's words became a rallying cry for a new generation of Africans who were tired of the old narratives of a continent defined by poverty, conflict, and aid. In universities and marketplaces, in rural villages and urban centers, young people began to organize, to debate, to dream. They saw in Traoré's example a model of courage and conviction, a reminder that change was possible, even in the face of overwhelming odds. They began to see in this young captain a reflection of their own aspirations for a strong, dignified, and united Africa. The sense of possibility was infectious, spreading from one community to the next, as people dared to believe that they could shape their own destinies. The old divisions, between north and south, urban and rural, young and old, began to fade, replaced by a shared sense of purpose and hope. A dormant belief in the continent's potential was reawakened, and a new generation began to believe, once again, that a different future was not only possible, but within their grasp. The echoes of revolution, once faint and uncertain, now rang out with clarity and conviction, signaling the dawn of a new era for Burkina Faso, and for Africa as a whole. The journey ahead would be long and difficult, but, for the first time in years, there was a sense that the people themselves held the power to shape their own destiny. In the contemporary African narrative, Captain Ibrahim Traoré has transcended his role as the interim leader of Burkina Faso to become something far greater and more complex. His journey from a relatively unknown military officer to a figure of continental significance is not just a story of personal ambition or political maneuvering. It is in many ways a reflection of the deep undercurrents of change sweeping across Africa, a continent that has long yearned for leaders who not only speak to its pain, but also to its dreams and aspirations. Traoré's rise is emblematic of a broader awakening, a collective realization that the time has come for Africa to chart its own course, free from the shadows of its colonial past and the constraints of external influence. Today, he symbolizes a continental movement, a powerful idea that has been dubbed Africa Rising. This phrase, once used primarily in economic circles to describe the continent's growth potential, has now taken on a much deeper, more profound meaning. It is no longer just about GDP figures or foreign investment. It is about a people reclaiming their dignity, their agency, and their right to define their own future. Across cities and villages, from the bustling streets of Ouagadougou to the remote corners of the Sahel, young Africans are rallying behind this idea, seeing in Traoré a leader who dares to dream big and act boldly. He is no longer just one man. He is the embodiment of a generation's yearning to reclaim its voice, its power, and its collective pride. For many, Traoré represents the possibility of a new kind of leadership, one that is rooted in the realities of the people, unafraid to challenge the status quo and willing to make sacrifices for the greater good. His story resonates with millions who have grown weary of empty promises and foreign-imposed solutions, and who now seek leaders who are truly accountable to their own people. His image, often clad in military fatigues and his signature red beret, has become an icon of resistance against neo-colonialism and a beacon of hope for a future defined by African agency. The red beret in particular evokes memories of past revolutionaries, figures like Thomas Sankara, who inspired generations with their courage and vision. Traoré's visual symbolism is not accidental. It is a deliberate nod to the legacy of those who came before him, and a signal to the world that a new chapter is being written in the story of African self-determination. This transformation from a national leader to a continental symbol carries with it an immense weight of expectation, as millions across Africa now look to him as the vanguard of a new era. The hopes and dreams of an entire generation are being projected onto his shoulders, and with that comes both inspiration and immense pressure. Every speech, every policy decision, every public appearance is scrutinized not just by the people of Burkina Faso, but by Africans everywhere who see in him a reflection of their own struggles and aspirations. This movement is not merely political, it is deeply cultural and psychological. It is about reclaiming a sense of self-worth that has been eroded by centuries of exploitation and misrepresentation. It is about celebrating the richness and diversity of African cultures, languages, and traditions, and recognizing that these are sources of strength, not obstacles to progress. The cultural renaissance that is unfolding alongside the political awakening is giving rise to new forms of art, music, and literature that speak to the realities of contemporary Africa. It represents a continent standing up to reclaim its narrative, to move beyond the post-colonial hangover and forge a new identity on its own terms. In classrooms, on social media, and in the streets, young Africans are challenging old stereotypes and demanding to be seen and heard on their own terms. They are rewriting the story of Africa, one that is not defined by victimhood or dependency, but by resilience, creativity, and ambition. For decades, the story of Africa has been told primarily by outsiders, often focusing on themes of despair, corruption, and helplessness. These narratives, perpetuated by foreign media and academic institutions, have shaped global perceptions of the continent and, in many cases, influenced the way Africans see themselves. The result has been a pervasive sense of inferiority and a lack of confidence in the continent's ability to solve its own problems. The rise of figures like Traoré challenges this external gaze, offering an alternative narrative of strength, resilience, and self-determination. By asserting control over their own stories, Africans are beginning to redefine what it means to be African in the 21st century. This new narrative is one of possibility, innovation, and hope, a narrative that is being written not just by politicians, but by entrepreneurs, artists, and everyday people who are determined to build a better future for themselves and their communities. His unapologetic Pan-African rhetoric and his government's sovereign policies are seen as tangible proof that the spirit of independence, once championed by luminaries like Kwame Nkrumah, Patrice Lumumba, and Thomas Sankara, is not just alive but experiencing a powerful resurgence in the 21st century. Traoré's speeches often invoke the memory of these giants, reminding Africans of their shared history and the unfinished work of liberation. In doing so, he connects the struggles of the past with the challenges of the present, inspiring a new generation to pick up the mantle of leadership and continue the fight for true independence. This new African dream is being fueled by a potent mix of pride and pragmatism. It is not enough to simply reject foreign domination. There is a growing recognition that Africa must also build the institutions, infrastructure, and knowledge base necessary to thrive in a rapidly changing world. Across the continent, young people are starting businesses, developing new technologies, and finding innovative solutions to age-old problems. They are driven by a sense of purpose and a belief that Africa's best days are still ahead. It is a dream where African nations control their own natural resources, build robust intracontinental trade networks, and develop security solutions tailored to their unique challenges, free from the dictates of former colonial powers. The vision is clear. Africa must move beyond being a source of raw materials for the rest of the world and become a center of value addition, innovation, and prosperity. This requires not only political will but also a deep commitment to education, entrepreneurship, and regional cooperation. The alliance formed between Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, the Alliance of Sahel States, is a concrete manifestation of this dream. It is a bold experiment in regional integration, one that seeks to pool resources, share intelligence, and coordinate strategies in the face of common threats. By standing together, these countries are sending a powerful message to the world. Africa is no longer willing to be divided and conquered. It is a pact of mutual defense and economic cooperation that signals a decisive shift away from Western-led frameworks. The Alliance of Sahel States is not just about military cooperation. It is about building a new model of governance and development that is rooted in African realities and priorities. By forging their own path, these nations are challenging the dominance of foreign powers and asserting their right to determine their own destinies. The glowing maps of Africa seen in supporter videos and the proud display of the flags of these allied nations represent a tangible hope for a united front, a bloc capable of negotiating with the world from a position of strength, not supplication. This visual language of unity and solidarity is resonating deeply with people across the continent, inspiring a sense of belonging and shared purpose that transcends national borders. At the heart of this movement is a philosophy articulated eloquently by Traoré himself. We do not hate anyone. These words are more than just a political slogan. They are a statement of principle, a declaration that Africa's quest for sovereignty is not about revenge or resentment, but about love. Love for the land, for the people, and for the future. We simply love Africa enough to protect her. This simple yet profound sentiment captures the essence of the new African consciousness, a consciousness that is rooted in pride but also in responsibility. It is a call to action for all Africans to stand up for what they believe in, to defend their heritage, and to build a future that honors the sacrifices of those who came before. This statement encapsulates the spirit of the new African dream. It is a dream that is inclusive, forward-looking, and grounded in the belief that Africa's greatest asset is its people. By fostering a sense of unity and shared purpose, leaders like Traoré are helping to lay the foundation for a new era of peace, prosperity, and progress. It is not a vision built on animosity or a rejection of the outside world, but one founded on a profound and protective love for the continent. This approach recognizes that Africa's future is interconnected with the rest of the world, but insists that engagement must be on equal terms, with mutual respect and benefit. It is a vision that seeks partnership, not patronage, collaboration, not coercion, It reframes the struggle for sovereignty not as an act of aggression, but as an act of self-preservation and self-respect. The quest for dignity is at the heart of this movement, a dignity that has too often been denied or undermined by external forces. By reclaiming their sovereignty, Africans are asserting their right to exist on their own terms, to make their own choices, and to shape their own destinies. This message resonates powerfully with African youth, who are increasingly connected, informed, and eager to build a future where their continent is not a recipient of charity, but a global powerhouse in its own right. The digital revolution has given rise to a new generation of leaders, thinkers, and creators who are leveraging technology to solve local problems and connect with the world. They are using their voices to demand change, to hold their leaders accountable, and to push for policies that reflect their values and aspirations. Traoré has become the vessel for this powerful aspiration, carrying the burden and the honor of being a symbol for it all. As he stands before cheering crowds, waves to hopeful faces, and addresses the world from the heart of Burkina Faso, he is not just speaking for himself or his nation. He is giving voice to a movement that is bigger than any one person, a movement that is redefining what it means to be African and what it means to lead. The story of Captain Ibrahim Traoré is still being written, but one thing is clear: he is indeed more than just a leader. He is the living embodiment of a continent's hope, courage, and unbreakable spirit. The remarkable story of Captain Ibrahim Traoré and the transformation he represents is not unfolding in isolation. It is a narrative that is deeply intertwined with the broader currents of history, geopolitics, and the aspirations of millions. In the heart of West Africa, a new chapter is being written, one that is reverberating far beyond the borders of Burkina Faso. The world, often accustomed to viewing Africa through the lens of crisis and instability, is now compelled to pay attention to a movement that is challenging old assumptions and demanding a new kind of engagement. It is a global event, and the world is watching with a mixture of intrigue, apprehension, and hope. Newsrooms from Paris to New York, from Beijing to Johannesburg, are tracking every development, analyzing every speech, and speculating about what this means for the future of Africa and the world order. The story of Traoré is not just a local or regional phenomenon. It is a signal, a flare, that has caught the attention of policymakers, journalists, and ordinary citizens across continents. For some international observers, particularly in Western capitals, his rise is viewed with suspicion, seen as part of a worrying trend of democratic backsliding and military takeovers in the Sahel region. The specter of instability looms large in their analyses, as they recall the coups and crises that have plagued the region in recent years. There is concern that the fragile progress made towards democracy could be undone, and that the hard-won gains of civil society could be at risk. Yet beneath this apprehension lies a deeper anxiety. The fear that the established order, with its familiar alliances and predictable patterns, is being upended by forces that are no longer content to play by the old rules. His government's pivot away from traditional Western partners, most notably France, and its openness to new alliances have sent ripples through the established geopolitical order. The lowering of the French flag in Ouagadougou was more than a symbolic gesture. It was a declaration that the era of unquestioned Western influence is over. In its place, a new era is emerging, one in which African nations are seeking to redefine their relationships with the world, asserting their agency and exploring partnerships that better serve their interests. Diplomats and analysts are scrambling to understand the implications of this new, assertive brand of African leadership and what it means for long-standing economic and security interests in one of the world's most strategic regions. Think tanks are convening urgent panels, embassies are sending back detailed cables, and intelligence agencies are revising their assessments. The question on everyone's mind is, what does this mean for the balance of power in Africa, and by extension, the world? Will this new assertiveness lead to greater stability and prosperity, or will it trigger new conflicts and rivalries? Conversely, for many across the global south and among nations advocating for a multipolar world, Traoré's stance is seen as a courageous and necessary correction. In capitals from Brasilia to New Delhi, from Moscow to Beijing, there is a sense that the winds of change are finally blowing in Africa's favor. Leaders and citizens alike are watching Burkina Faso with admiration, seeing in its defiance a reflection of their own struggles for sovereignty and respect on the world stage. The idea that Africa can chart its own course, free from the dictates of former colonial powers, is inspiring a new generation of activists, thinkers, and policymakers. He is viewed as a leader who is daring to challenge a unipolar world order that has for too long marginalized African interests. Traoré's rhetoric, which emphasizes dignity, self-reliance, and unity, resonates deeply with those who have long felt excluded from the centers of global power. His willingness to speak truth to power, to call out the injustices of the past and present, has made him a symbol of hope for those who believe that a fairer, more balanced world is possible. His actions are celebrated as a bold assertion of sovereignty, a practical step towards ending a cycle of dependency that has hindered the continent's development. For decades, African nations have struggled to break free from the economic and political structures imposed by external powers. Traoré's government, by seeking new partnerships and prioritizing local solutions, is attempting to rewrite the rules of engagement. This is not just about politics, it is about reclaiming a sense of pride and possibility, about showing that Africa can be the author of its own destiny. This perspective sees the events in Burkina Faso not as a threat to stability, but as the painful but necessary birth of a more equitable global system. The struggles and sacrifices of the present are viewed as the labor pains of a new era, one in which Africa is no longer a passive recipient of outside agendas, but an active participant in shaping the future. The hope is that, through courage and determination, a new model of development and governance can emerge, one that is more just, more inclusive, and more attuned to the needs of ordinary people. The story of Traoré, therefore, has become a focal point in the wider debate about the future of international relations, representing a powerful challenge to the status quo. In think tanks and universities, in the corridors of power, and on the streets, people are debating what Burkina Faso's bold experiment means for the world. Is this the beginning of a new wave of African empowerment, or a risky gamble that could backfire? The answers are not yet clear, but what is certain is that the world can no longer afford to ignore the voices and aspirations of Africa's people. This is not merely the story of one man's ascent to power. It is fundamentally the story of a new generation's rise to consciousness. Across Burkina Faso and the continent, young people are awakening to their own potential, demanding a seat at the table and a say in the decisions that shape their lives. They are organizing, mobilizing, and refusing to accept the limitations imposed by the past. The energy and determination of this generation are palpable, and their impact is being felt in every corner of society. Traoré, at 36 years old, is a contemporary of the very demographic that is driving change across the continent. He is not a distant, unapproachable figure. He is one of them, shaped by the same experiences, hopes, and frustrations. His rise to prominence is a testament to the power of youth, to the idea that leadership is not the preserve of the old guard, but a responsibility that can be embraced by those with vision and courage. Africa is the world's youngest continent, with over 60% of its population under the age of 25. This demographic reality is both a challenge and an opportunity. On the one hand, it means that millions of young people are entering the workforce every year, seeking jobs, education, and a sense of purpose. On the other hand, it means that the continent is brimming with energy, creativity, and potential, a vast reservoir of talent that, if harnessed, could transform Africa's fortunes. This young, dynamic, and digitally connected generation is less beholden to the political traditions of the past, and more demanding of a future that offers them dignity, opportunity, and a meaningful say in their own governance. They are using technology to organize, to share ideas, and to hold their leaders accountable. Social media platforms have become arenas for debate and activism, where young Africans are shaping narratives and building movements that transcend borders. Their vision is not limited by the failures of the past. They are imagining new possibilities, and they are determined to make them a reality. Traoré speaks their language, both literally and figuratively. He understands their frustrations, the lack of jobs, the broken promises, the sense of being left behind, but he also shares their dreams. A Burkina Faso that is safe, prosperous, and respected. An Africa that is united and strong. His speeches are filled with references to the struggles and triumphs of ordinary people, and he is unafraid to challenge the status quo, to call for bold action and real change. His youth, his directness, and his focus on tangible results resonate with a generation that has grown weary of empty promises and ineffectual governance. They see in him a leader who is willing to listen, to learn, and to act. This connection is not just rhetorical, it is practical, rooted in a shared experience of struggle and hope. Traoré's government has made efforts to include young people in decision-making, to create opportunities for entrepreneurship and innovation, and to invest in education and skills development. Ultimately, the story of Ibrahim Traoré is the story of Africa's potential rebirth. It is a story of resilience in the face of adversity, of hope in the midst of uncertainty, and of the enduring belief that a better future is possible. The challenges are immense, but so too is the determination of those who refuse to give up. Across Burkina Faso, families are dreaming of a future where their children can grow up in peace, where their talents are recognized, and where their voices matter. It is a narrative filled with complexities, risks, and profound questions about the future. The path forward is uncertain, and there are no easy answers. The tensions between tradition and modernity, between sovereignty and interdependence, between hope and fear, are playing out in real time. Every decision, every action, carries consequences that will shape the destiny of millions. The path he has chosen for his nation is fraught with challenges, both internal and external. Security remains a pressing concern, with insurgent groups threatening stability and safety. The social fabric is under strain, as communities grapple with the pressures of change and the legacy of past injustices. Yet, in the face of these obstacles, there is a sense of resolve, a belief that, through unity and determination, progress is possible. The forces of insurgency remain a potent threat, and the economic pressures of forging an independent path are immense. Burkina Faso, like many of its neighbors, faces the daunting task of building a resilient economy in the face of global headwinds. The decision to pursue greater autonomy comes with costs, reduced aid, strained trade relationships, and the need to develop new sources of growth. Yet, for many, these sacrifices are worth it if they lead to a future where Burkina Faso can stand on its own feet. The future is calling, and the central question remains: will Africa answer? Will the continent seize this moment to redefine its place in the world, to build societies that are just, inclusive, and prosperous? Or will it be held back by the forces of division and inertia? The answer will depend not just on leaders like Traoré, but on the millions of ordinary Africans who are demanding change and working to make it happen. The journey of Captain Traoré suggests that the answer is already being formulated, not in the halls of international conferences, but in the hearts and minds of its people. In villages and cities, in schools and marketplaces, in homes and on social media, Africans are debating, dreaming, and deciding what kind of future they want. The real revolution is not just political, it is cultural, social, and psychological. It is about reclaiming agency, about believing that change is possible, and about working together to make it real. His story is a compelling must-watch chapter in the ongoing epic of Africa's quest for its true self. A story that demands the world's attention because its outcome will shape the 21st century. As the world watches, the people of Burkina Faso, and Africa as a whole, are writing their own destiny. One decision, one dream, and one act of courage at a time. The journey is far from over, but the message is clear. Africa is rising, and its story is only just beginning.